I share the president's assessment that on issues that are a priority to the United States.
I'll take that as you disagree with his assessment that we never got anything from
take
NATO
it as
because,
right.
Mr.
That's your
Secretary, let me
characterization.
reclaiming my time,
I'm
Mr. Chairman.
telling- well,
Mr. Secretary, I'm asking very specifically about a
I'm trying to
specific
answer
quote.
your
I'm not
question, but you
asking
asked
whether
me-
NATO can be better or
But how can
reformed.
you
I'm
guys ask
asking
me
if we
questions and
never
not let
got
me
anything
answer?
from NATO. And I want to specifically ask you, Mr. Secretary,
Well, why are you asking me if I can't answer?
you're not answering the question that I'm asking. You're answering a different question about whether NATO can
giving
be
you the
better
answer
or
you
reformed.
want.
And so I'm going to...
I've heard claims that America owes everything to NATO, but I believe the real question is whether every ally has been carrying its fair share of the burden. That's exactly what Senator Marco Rubio defended during this hearing. While critics focused on President Trump's words, Rubio emphasized the broader issue, ensuring NATO works for the American people as well as our allies. But as the questioning grew more intense, the debate shifted from burden sharing to America's commitment under Article 5, leading to one of the most heated exchanges of the hearing.
That I had with several European prime ministers and several of your colleagues within the administration. Your colleagues recognized that NATO is both bigger and better funded today than it was 10 years ago. And I am fully willing to admit that that is a byproduct of several factors, including Putin's aggression, previous administrations, and indeed a byproduct of actions by this administration and this president's first term as well. But I want to focus in today on statements and actions that I believe go beyond pressuring and leverage and actually fundamentally undermine the foundation of NATO. On January 21st of this year, in the president's speech in Davos, he said, we, quote, never got anything from NATO. 2 months later, the president said on Truth Social, speaking of NATO, they will do nothing for us. Mr. Secretary, do you share the president's assessment that we, quote, never got anything from NATO?
Well, I think what the president was speaking to at that moment, and was what I'll speak to you about now, is one of the reasons why I've been such a strong supporter of NATO is because they allow us to use these bases, because it allows us in a time of contingency, like the one in Germany and others. And for the first time, we see NATO countries denying us the use of their bases, which undermines the purpose for our involvement.
These statements, including the one we never got anything from NATO, happened before the war in Iran, which falls outside of the Article 5 invocation. It falls outside of a war of defense. Do you share the president's assessment that we, quote, never got anything from NATO?
I share the president's assessment that on issues that are a priority to the United States.
I'll take that as you disagree with his assessment that we never got anything from NATO because, Mr. Secretary, let me reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I'm asking very specifically about a specific quote. I'm not asking whether NATO can be better or reformed. I'm asking if we never got anything from NATO. And I want to specifically ask you, Mr. Secretary.
Well, why are you asking me if I can't answer?
You're not answering the question that I'm asking. You're answering a different question about whether NATO can be better or reformed. And so I'm going to move on, Mr. Secretary. Are you aware that the only time Article 5 has ever been invoked is after 9/11 in defense of the United States?
Of course I'm aware of that,
Okay.
yeah.
And are you aware that more than 1,000 Europeans died in the subsequent war on terror that was invoked after?
They participated in the Middle East, correct.
And I assume you're aware that the NATO ally that lost more service members per capita is Denmark?
Denmark, I thought it was that the UK had suffered more.
More per capita.
Okay, gotcha.
And I assume you're aware that Greenland is indeed part of Denmark.
For now.
Okay. Well, I want to focus in on Greenland. I joined the bipartisan bicameral trip to Copenhagen as the administration that you're a part of sought to seize Greenland. In the president's speech at Davos, he said, referring to Greenland, quote, you need ownership to defend it. Mr. Secretary, does the United States need to own land within NATO to defend it?
And the truth be told, we are actually involved in conversations with Greenland and Denmark on the use of Greenland for collective defense for all of us. It's a key part of missile defense, but we're involved in those talks right now, so I think we're in a good place on it now. But I don't want to put stuff out there in the public record that would undermine the conversations we're having with them on it.
So, specifically, I'm not asking about whether we're going to do more within Greenland for our collective defense. I think all of us share that goal, including Denmark and Greenlandic people. But does the United States need to own land within NATO to defend it. That's what the president said, and that was the justification for those statements and the attempt to seize Greenland several months ago.
The president's view is that it's a lot easier to defend it when you have control and complete control of it. We are obviously having conversations with both Denmark and Greenland. They are ongoing on a monthly basis now. I think we'll have pretty good news on it at some point.
I take that as you disagree with the literal words of the President of the United States. And I want to put
I
a
think
finer
he's right. If
point.
we owned it, it would be easier to defend it. But
That's
there
not
would
what
be
he said.
another-
He said you need to own it to defend it, which fundamentally undermines the central tenet of Article 5 of NATO, which states that the parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against all of them, and if such an armed attack occurs, each of them will assist the party or parties attacked. So sitting here with, I'm sure, many leaders across Europe within NATO and many leaders beyond, including Vladimir Putin, potentially watching the words and listening to the words that you are saying, can you reassure our NATO allies and make it clear to Vladimir Putin that if a NATO ally is attacked and Article 5 is invoked, that we will defend them?
The United States is still in the NATO alliance, and we'll be there in Turkey to talk about all these topics. The president himself will be attending the next NATO meeting of heads of state, where all these points will be made clear. We're still in NATO, but NATO needs significant changes, and the president has made that clear.
And
He's very disappointed in NATO.
Representative. Hearing came to a close, I wanted to make one thing clear. My position was never about abandoning NATO. It was about strengthening it. Throughout this exchange, I repeatedly emphasized that the United States remains committed to the NATO alliance. I made it clear that President Trump will attend the upcoming NATO summit and that America continues to stand with its allies. At the same time, I believe NATO must continue to evolve, and every member nation should contribute its fair share to our collective defense. When I was pressed about President Trump's past remarks, I tried to bring the discussion back to what I see as the real issue, making sure America's interests are protected while encouraging our allies to take greater responsibility for their own security. From my perspective, asking allies to do more doesn't weaken NATO. It helps build a stronger and more sustainable alliance. On the issue of Greenland, I explained that we are actively engaged in discussions with Denmark and Greenland about strengthening our security cooperation. I chose not to discuss sensitive negotiations publicly because I believe those conversations are more productive behind closed doors than in a congressional hearing. At the end of the day, my message remained consistent. I believe America is strongest when our alliances are strong. But strong alliances require every partner to carry their share of the burden. That is the principle I came here to defend. What do you think? Did I make a convincing case for strengthening NATO while ensuring America's interests come first? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to America Brief, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest moments from Congress and Washington.